welcome to this episode of Think Business. Looking forward to talking with Jason Glime. Jason, it's great to connect with you, President of Employee Benefits at Spartan Wealth Management. Jason, I've been looking forward to this talk. I appreciate you coming on because I think as I'm coaching businesses, small, medium, large, fortune, doesn't matter the size, it always feels to me like this is a very confusing part of people's businesses. I'm as someone who has been in business and now I'm a business coach. One of the things I always like to look at is controllables, things that I can control within my business, my expense line. Benefits has never been one of those, and I love talking to people in this space because this is a place where I think mentorship and guidance is so critical. It is so critical. And so let's start there.
Okay.
So how do you help people make sense of it, take away the confusion, control what they can control, at least through the process?
Yeah, John, I mean, you said a lot like, it's one of those expenses that people just always are, hey, it is what it is. We're going to take whatever the carriers give us. We're going to just accept what is presented. And, as a business consultant, as a healthcare consultant, there's more to that. You can make a difference. There are alternate ways. They're not just the named carriers that everybody knows, Blue Cross, United Healthcare, Aetna, things like that. There are some independent ways for you to actually be able to look into your business and look into your claims and in your premiums and seeing where they're going. And there's a challenge, I think, for most small to mid-sized businesses that they think it's uncontrollable.
Yeah.
Every other part of their business, they look at any sort of increases over a period of time and they're going to find a way to make a change.
Right.
And healthcare benefits is one. They feel that there isn't a way to do it. And I'm telling you that there is.
All right, good. So I want to talk about some of the alternative ways, but I want to first address, I think, a pain point that would maybe prevent people from looking at the alternative ways that you're talking about. There's a line in business that people will say, nobody ever got fired for hiring or for picking ... Right.
Correct.
And then you take millions, if not billions of dollars of marketing that have kind of drilled this mindset and belief system that only A and B are true. But a belief system that we create on our own or through marketing that we believe is facts, in many cases is not facts. And so we need somebody like you to kind of pry open and raise our awareness of new beliefs. So that's where I kind of want to take the conversation a little bit, the new belief system of what these alternative ways are, and then how you can then use them. So talk to us a little bit about the belief system and what's right and what's wrong and where we need to move to.
Well, I think there's two ways that most organizations or two people that most organizations are relying on to make these decisions. In most cases, on a small to mid-sized company, it's going to be like an HR manager, an HR director, someone who is in theory involved in benefits every single day. I think, they obviously have a huge role in organizations and they are a champion of whatever program is put in place. But to me, it's the business owner or the financial executive because they're looking at the numbers, right? They need to make decisions about the business that can affect not only the employees, but the overall business. And I think a lot of the mistakes that small to mid-sized businesses make is they put those decisions onto an HR person who doesn't have the financial experience to go through it and make hard decisions that affect the business. They're rightfully so want to make changes or don't want to make any changes that will affect the employee experience or their healthcare. So, the way that we kind of talk to organizations and business owners, we want to have input of the HR person because obviously they're the ones that are going to be like implementing it. But it's really the finance and the owner that are really looking at the business from a strategic perspective and what most organizations do is they look at benefits as a year by year situation. They don't look at a long term strategy. We're not saying that you need to make this massive change to your whole overall benefit package, but it's a crawl, walk, run situation where you're in this fully insured, you're normal, no one ever gets fired for hiring Blue Cross, right? Everyone
Right.
knows Blue Cross. But there are ways that you can kind of transition to where you get more um, transparency of what's going on, like I mentioned earlier, as well as being able to actually make benefits a benefit again to your employees. Because I hear it all the time. People always think that employees will think, well, the insurance company's screwing me over, or the company's not paying for enough. I got too much coming out of my paycheck in order to pay for these services. And they don't look at healthcare that the company's providing as a benefit. And what we want to try to do is kind of transition that where they look at it and go, hey, my company really cares about me. They're taking information and they're taking carriers and looking at where I'm spending my dollars and making it the most effective.
You said a couple things that I think are worth talking about that I think are really, really important. It is, I don't know if companies pay enough attention to what you just said on the feeling and emotional connection that they want and need to have with a company, that they feel that the company cares about them. Because I see when I'm in the field and I'm talking to people all day, people come to work and they want to do a great job. They really want to do the best they can. And they want to know that their manager has their back and the company cares about them. That is a really, really important through line. I want to talk about and back up into something that you talked about as far as all the different people, the financial people, the HR people. Take me into a boardroom right now where you're the ideal meeting, you and who within a company to begin and reverse engineer the
Right.
brainstorming needed to make the right decision. I think community, we talk a lot on this podcast. I talk a lot about this with my clients. Mentorship and collaborating with the proper people to make really good business decisions is really important. And I want to just highlight this. I am under the belief, and I see this in companies all the time, there really are no bad decisions. And I think that's where people get stuck. That is true, Think Community. There are no bad decisions, but there are bad assumptions. And one bad assumption can destroy a company. It can really destroy a company. And so I don't want to over dramatize what we're talking about now, but we need the proper people around a board table to make and outline what we believe the right assumptions are, because 1 degree off can make a really big difference. So enter something that I think is very confusing for people. And I agree with you. I see it too, sit into the HR world when the financial people aren't involved and people are rushing at the end. And so rewind with me as far as timing goes and who the ideal table, who's sitting around the table for you to really ask questions, strategize, make assumptions to ultimately assist in making the right decision for that company.
Well, there's multiple, obviously, in all these sort of situations, there's multiple meetings they're involved. And I think really, excuse me, the initial meeting it would be with a business owner or the finance person and really tell me how the business has been over the last few years, where you want it to go, what sort of strat. I mean, again, I'm talking all around the healthcare side, but what strategies have you done in the past and how have they turned out? What strategies have you had that you're looking to for the future? And quite frankly, the answers I get is they don't have one. They'll, oh, I've been getting these, increases over the last year, or hey, they feel like an addicted gambler where they fully expect to lose every year and they're shocked when they get a flat renewal on their premiums, or they just get a small increase and they think they won the lottery.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is that there's lots of other things that are involved in it. So what we try to do is break it down just like in their line item in their business. Like you have a strategic plan on how you want your business to look 1 year, 3 years, 5 years down the road. And whether it's sales or cost of goods or, tons of other things, But one thing they always leave out is that strategic plan from a healthcare perspective, and the owner and the finance person are the ones that are really going to be involved in that aspect of the strategic plan. Now, obviously, HR is always going to implement it, and I think the initial meeting is always with that C-suite, and then you move to the HR person to saying, okay, a lot of this is going to fall in your lap, and if we're going to be making any changes, what things are you seeing from the employees? Where do you see their reaction going to be if there's any changes? And how do we educate those employees on how this change is going to actually make it better for them? So I think it's more of a multiple meeting. If you have everybody in a room, I think sometimes it gets a little muddled because the HR person is always going to side from the employees, and they know what's going to happen. Where the finance and the owner are going to really think strategically, and there's usually a little bit of tension in there.
Yeah.
And depending on the relationship of the HR with those people, it can be a little challenging to get decisions made. Now, if everyone's aligned, then those meetings are awesome because they all see where the plan is going to change their overall business, how it's going to change the employees, going to make their employees experience better. They're going to be able to attract and retain employees, which in turn just makes their overall business just be more successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. That's a great review of kind of how to look at it. Think community, make sure that you're having the right people in those meetings. A question for you, Jason. Sometimes tension is a part of meeting. Conflict resolution is something that business people are doing all the time. One of the things I say when I'm in a meeting where I know there's going to be some tension is, I'll tee it up and I'll say, hey, we're probably going to get to some areas of this meeting that may be a little tense, but I promise we'll kind of clean it up by the end. So everybody walks out, smiling and happy and this, that, and the other. How do you get people through the tension?
It's a great question. I think our industry and the people that do what I do, there's been this historical challenge in that they look at it and just kind of shop like the traditional, what people think of as like a broker. They go out and broker the insurance, right? And they go find alternate plans or within the system that they're used to, and they say, hey, here's what it is. Here's what's available to you. But I think our job as more of a consultant versus being a broker is to challenge them, kill them with their own numbers. Hey, if this continues to go down the same path, how is it going to be? And to your point, John, is I think sometimes we as consultants, we need to actually create that tension and paint the picture of, hey, if you continue to go down this path, how is it going to affect you? Yeah. And I don't think a lot of consultants do that, at least on my side of the business. They just look at, hey, give me your stuff. Let me see how I can save you money. And let's look at this year after year. Whereas I feel you need to be more, our job is to present options, push you a little bit. Now, you might not take all of our suggestions, but at least it's out there. At least we're talking about it. And it might not happen year one, but maybe year two, year three. And we're constantly pushing them with the information that they provided us earlier. They said they want to grow their business by X, or they want to reduce their costs by Y. And then we come back to them and say, hey, this is what you said. Here's how we can get you there. And let's put together a plan to get you there. But the tension part is definitely, it's a challenging thing, especially when you got multiple personalities in there and multiple roles and responsibilities and how it's going to affect them. So our job is to kind of, like you said, read the room, figure out what pushes people's buttons and what's important to them, and then kind of create that tension that is productive.
Yeah. Healthy tension. And I like that you're talking about, kill them with their own numbers. If you don't bring data to the meeting, people just use their own opinion. So there's got to be a little bit of gut, a little bit of facts, a little bit of numbers, where we can forecast out. To your point, I think is great. You talk about reading the room, creating tension, understanding the people that are in the room, et cetera. in my world as a business coach, I'm doing that a lot, whether it's one-on-one in groups, keynotes, it doesn't really matter. For me, I find that my routines and my rituals of what I do helps me get into that space where I can actually, when I'm in those moments, be in the, zoom out, be an observer, actively listen, and really kind of pay attention. What do you do to kind of get your mindset and get your kind of DNA and nervous system ready to not only go on meetings like this, but really just attack the day?
I mean, it's a struggle, I think, like you said, for everybody. Everyone's always interested in what they have to say, and they want to talk about. They hear a few things, and they go, "Oh, I got an idea. I can solve this. I can do this. I can help them." And just over time, I think it's being a little bit older, being in the business for a long time, you learn to pause, let people talk until they're done, and even wait another 5 seconds or so just to let them there, and then kind of ask the very last thing that they say. You sort of, what I've kind of learned is you kind of repeat the last like
Yeah.
3 or 4 words to them, and
Yeah,
then let them expand more, and
correct.
and you get so much more depth in what they're actually talking about.
Yeah,
And you don't necessarily repeat the exact same words, but you kind of rephrase it to them, and then they expand more and they get deeper, and then you really really find out what's actually going on.
yeah,
That's a struggle. I mean, we're all kind of in sales. You're in sales, I'm in sales.
yeah,
We all want to solve people's problems. We want a product dump, or we want to show that we can versus versus one mouth, and really listen, and truly listen and wait. And again, it's a struggle for, I think it's for everybody, but I think over time it's just become more natural to me.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think the power in the pause is so important. I'm a big fan of the person that asks the questions is controlling the conversation.
no
And
question.
yeah, absolutely. All right, take me back now to a time before you were, let's say, 10 years old. Who was a mentor? We spoke earlier about mentors. Who was a mentor to you that helped you kind of, you know, get the, you know, get the tools and the discipline and everything you have now to build your business?
Wow, you have lots of them, right? And especially when you're 10 years old, and you think back to like who were the ones that had the most
Yeah,
influence on you. And I can say my father obviously, worked, from the age of 19 till he passed away, and just was always engaged with people, always making sure that we were doing the right things, as children. Whether or not he was coaching us in sports, or encouraging us with the grades, and making sure we're hanging out with the right people, so we don't
yeah,
go down the wrong path. And the other one is, and it's been super important for me and for my children, and is coaches, whether it's a sports coach or a teacher or things like that. I've had a ton of them, and I think where you really get it is, at least for me, I was a football player, and my football coach really talked about discipline and showing up. You might not feel like you're in your best, but you're showing up and you're getting there. And that has been those are the type of people that have kind of molded me.
yeah,
I have a group right now that I've found that is doing the exact same thing as an adult, and it's been life changing for me. And I think that's super important, is like surrounding yourself with people that push you, that call you out,
yeah,
that make you accountable. To me, that's what's lacking, I think, today in the corporate world, and just out there in general, is making people accountable for what they say, what they do.
yeah. I love that. I love that. Discipline is so important. As you're talking about coaches, I agree with everything that you just shared. My kids are 18 and 21, and my 21-year-old is graduating soon and getting into the workforce. And I find that when I'm sharing stuff with him to the level of discipline I want him to have with certain things, those, when you teach it, you actually grow. And, and so I find myself, pushing him out of his comfort zone. And because I'm his dad, I know where the insecurity is sitting because he tells me, there's
right.
no hiding it. And so,
or you're also looking in the mirror because it's similar to probably what you were back then.
Correct. And also, and I push and where it pushes me also is to say, okay, I grow when I feel insecure. I grow when I get myself out of my comfort zone. It's not always easy, but it's also a really good reminder. And so I think, as we teach discipline, I think, and we talk about discipline, I think we also think community have to look in the mirror and say, where do we need to be more disciplined? Because it's like, where are the minutes that we can do it, or what's the one thing that's been holding you back? We talk a lot about on this podcast, Jason, doing things that you've been talking about for a long time that have been holding you back. And I think at the root of that is there's a strong percentage of just a next level of discipline. So I appreciate you bringing that up. All right. Who's your ideal client? Tell everybody who your ideal client is and where they can connect with you.
So my ideal client is a small to mid-sized business between 50 and 500 employees who are tired of getting their standard renewal from their carrier. They feel like they're stuck, and they need to be a little more entrepreneurial. They want to be able to make changes. It can be anywhere in the Midwest. It's really about they're ready to make a change. They're really, really make a change, and they're sick and tired of what they've been going through. And we're here to help.
Yeah, it's great. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. And now Think Community, right. Here's one more solution for you. What's your email, website, phone number?
Sure. You can find me at jason.glime, Glime, at spartanwealth.com. You can also go on to our website, spartanwealth.com. And I take phone calls. I know from talking to you over a period of time, you answer your cell phone, you answer anytime that you're not sleeping. I've heard that from you tons of times. So my phone number is 248-930-5654. I'll take a call.
I love it. All right, quick speed round. Ready?
Uh-oh.
A book, a TED Talk, or an article that's had a big impact on you?
So actually I just listened to a guy named Ryan Holiday. He had 100 nuggets or quotes to have a fulfilling life. I literally just listened to that yesterday. Yeah. Amazing. It's, stoic and, Marcus Aurelius. I'm sure you're aware of it, but that one's awesome.
I have his book on my desk. I have his book on my desk, and I just downloaded The Obstacle Is the Way. And on masterclass.com, they just released a Ryan Holiday masterclass, which
I'm going
to take. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Be yourself and control the things that you can control, and don't worry about anybody else. Because you know what? Everyone thinks they're thinking about you. Most people are just thinking about themselves.
Yeah. There's a lot of truth to that. Last question, Jason. Finish this sentence. One thing everybody can do to tap into themselves and get to their next level of discipline is
consistency.
All right. I love that you ended with that word. It's one of my favorite words. Think Community. I'm a business coach. I work with solopreneurs to Fortune companies, all the roles within a company. I work with people who are stuck. I get them unstuck. And one of the things I talk about, which is thinking big. Thinking big really is reverse engineering to the small and doing the small consistently every single day. That's what gets you to the big. You shared a lot of great things, Jason. That's why I love this podcast. So guests can come talk about their businesses, the impact they're making, and how they can get people unstuck. You're able to get people unstuck by giving them alternatives that I would venture to guess they don't know are out there, because everybody's so busy doing their own thing And I know I can say that pretty confidently when I do time management seminars. I ask people how many people feel like they don't have 5 minutes in a day, and the majority of everybody in the room, no matter how many people are there, they raise their hand. And so I would imagine that people don't have the knowledge that there is another solution. In community, there's always another solution. And one of the things that Jason talks about today, which I think is really important, is the idea of collaboration, the idea of getting people around the table who can help you make the right assumption sets, that can help you make the decisions, and ask you questions. I think more importantly, ask you questions to make sure you're in the right space, bringing the data to the table that makes sense to you, and giving you the tools to do what just allows you to let your people know that you care about them. So I loved everything that you talked about today. Appreciate all your insights. Tell people one more time your cell if they want to reach out.
248-930-5654.
All right. Jason Glime, President of Employee Benefits at Spartan Wealth Management. This has been great. Think community, if Jason can help you, please reach out. If I can help you and you want to talk about any business coaching, you can reach me at johndwoskin.com. Jason, stick around for just a minute. We'll catch up. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, John.